Born May 8th, 1964 in Corpus Christi, Texas, he and his brother are the only one of two pairs of brothers to have both won a Cup Series championship. His career numbers include 21 Cup Series wins over 725 starts, 10 Busch Series victories in 203 starts, one win in the Craftsman Truck Series. He's a 1991 Busch Series champion, 2000 Cup Series champion, one of NASCAR's 75 greatest drivers, NASCAR Hall of Fame Class of 2020, and current FS1 NASCAR Race Hub analyst Bobby Labonte joins us on the show. Bobby, welcome to the show.
Hey, glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Let's jump right into things. And first question we like to ask out of the gate, Bobby, how'd you catch the racing bug?
Well, I think that was probably my dad's fault, and my brother had something to do with it as well. I mean, I think I was born at a racetrack, and, obviously when you're little like that, I mean, obviously when you're 5 years old, you don't know what you're going to do the rest of your life, but, we kept racing and racing and racing, and took a little time off while Terry was racing stock cars, and then I realized that, I want to race more. So I guess the bug started early, but, I didn't waver from it. My parents bought me a mini bike, but I realized that wasn't going to be enough, so I got a go-kart, and that was, kind of game on after that.
1991, you won the Busch Series championship running for Labonte Motorsports, a team you co-owned with your brother. Talk to us not only about the 91 season, what you remember, but working with your brother as a team owner.
Yeah, well, so my brother built a building. I had my race team. We were working out of Cliff Stewart shop, so when he built a building, we just moved over there, and I rented space from him, and we had a great family operation, but, he guided me in a lot of ways that, I wouldn't have had that great advice if it wasn't for him, and, he was able to kind of help me navigate, starting the team up, and, we can go back a little further and back to my dad's house and his garage. We were, building race cars back there in a 30 by 40 building, and started race Busch cars, and then, got a sponsor and went to Cliff Stewart shop, and then went to Terry's place. So, we just, it was just kind of one of those things where, you woke up every day and you said, well, we're working towards this goal, and every day you work towards it, you work hard, and, we were able to accomplish a lot of good things.
Your first Cup win came 1995, Coke 600. What do you remember about that win, and what does that day mean to you?
I think that we were, I feel like driving for Coach Gibbs that year. We'd run second, I think, at Rockingham. I think that was the second race of the year. It was Rockingham, Atlanta, finished second. We'd been really fast, so we're out of the gate. And, we were able to do things that I had never done in the Cup Series before, and, lead races and laps, and, have good finishes. And so leading up to the Coke 600, and, again, we just, I don't remember where we qualified that day, but we were, fast in practice, and, run 600 miles. And, Gordon had an issue throughout the race, sometime throughout the race, and Schrader was leading, and he broke with about 25 to go, I guess. And, it was just one of those things where, we were knocking on the door. We just, you never know, right? And so when it came to the end, we were fast all night, and then we were trying to catch Schrader, and he had a problem, and that made it easy, and we moved on, and, were able to win the race, and Terry finished in second. And, when you win your first one, you don't ever forget that. And, that was just, a moment that, it was priceless, because it's, 10 or 11 o'clock at night, probably 11. And, we had just worked hard all day, and we just had a good feeling about it. And then, to be able to come home, with that first victory in the Coke 600 was obviously, a moment that you won't forget.
So you mentioned Joe Gibbs and running for Coach Gibbs, obviously, early on. You ran for not only Joe Gibbs, but Richard Petty, Troy Aikman, Roger Staubach. Tell us what it meant to run for some names like that in your time in the Cup Series.
Yeah, the Pettys, obviously, going to the Pettys was a great, it was great. And it's a great family. And, Kyle lived right, probably a mile from me, I guess, in the petty shops. I'd been there many times. Heck, I'd gotten Richard's autograph when I was little, and to be able to drive for the King and those guys, I mean, was really something. You know what I mean? And I hate that we didn't get the victory lane. We started off really good. Then we just kind of became mid-pack, but yeah, we were able to, to have some good runs to start off with, and they mean so much to the sport. And yeah, I'm glad I got to run for them at some point in time there, and that it worked out well. But they good family, and obviously we all stay in touch because the whole community is a big family. So that was that's just the way it is. But yeah, I mean they're good people, and a lot of the other people I drove for as well.
1999 was such a strong year for you and the team. It really felt like it was the setup for the following year for you. What about 1999 gave you and your team the hope to go and chase that championship the following year?
Yeah, I mean, we were, we kind of, 95 was good, 96 was okay, 97, the 98 we kept, we were, I think that was the time, everybody's coil binding or doing things different. A lot of things were happening with the car, the way aero and platform-wise and stuff like that goes. So we were, chasing things. And then in 98, towards the end of the year, I think we started to hit upon things. And then, I think I remember at Pocono in 1998, the first race we were terrible. And the second race, like a month later, we tried so many different things. We finished fourth, and I remember going to fourth or fifth, and I remember having to go to the gas pumps afterwards, and I asked, I have no idea where the gas pumps are because I've never been here before. I've never run this good, right? So then in 99, I think we swept both races at Pocono, and yeah, the whole year, I mean, we were just spot on week in and week out, and I thought 99 was a better year performance-wise than 2000, even though we just finished all the races in 2000, and we were competitive, but I thought 99 was a stronger year. And we just hit upon combinations that, worked for us, and Jimmy and I and everybody there was just, on top of it. And, yeah, I mean, we were just, we were just making it work.
2000 was your championship year, as you foreluded there. 4 wins, which kicked off at Rockingham and included 2 Crown Jewels in the Brickyard 400 and Southern 500. Talk to us a little bit about the 2000 season, what ended up being that championship caliber year.
Yeah, I mean, we were, obviously coming off of 99, we finished second to Dale Jarrett points, and, I can remember, kind of a pinpoint a race at Sonoma that kind of put us behind being able to be closer to Dale Jarrett for the championship in 99. So we were definitely bitter, at least I was, and knowing that we were able to win that championship, right? So in 2000, I mean, obviously we started off really strong, and we were just so consistent, and we were fast, we were win races, and we would lead laps, and we would just be consistent, and we top 5 or top 10 of the death. You know what I mean? Just lead laps and all that stuff, and I think that when you start off the year like that, and you're able to maintain the way the point system was then, you had to do that, and we did, and I think there wasn't. I mean, I guess there was a few turning points, but I think that just all year long we were just so consistent, so competitive that nobody could they can catch up, but they couldn't get by us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then I think Darlington was a kind of a turning point because we crashed the car in practice, and then we had to start the back, and we ended up leading the race when it started raining, and we ended up winning. It was like, well, we didn't see that coming, right? Nobody else did either. So, I mean, we just had that year, had that awesome year where, we probably tried to mess it up, but we couldn't.
One thing I remember from the 2000 season, as a 10-year-old kid, is just constantly seeing that bright green Interstate Batteries car up front with that black number 3. Talk to us about some of the battles with Dale Earnhardt from that season.
Yeah, I think that I was trying to think that at Rockingham, I don't remember if that was a year or not, but I think Rockingham, at the beginning of the year, we were we qualified bad, I think, or something like that. I don't think both of us did. I think we were both bad. And we ended up, we were talking before the race starts, and he mentioned a couple things about how to drive the track and how he drives it, and we were just chit-chatting. So I would lead under green, and he would catch me by the time we needed to pit, and he'd pass me. And then I'd go back out, and I'd charge, and I'd lead, and then he'd come back past me, right? So when that last pit stop came about, we were just kind of, I thought, what we talked about before the race, so I started letting off earlier for the first 10 laps of the run, and gave me enough cushion, to be more consistent towards the end. And I beat him, and he come up and he says, "You beat me on my own game." I said, "Yep." And so I thought that was kind of ironic and funny, but yeah, just all year long. I mean, parked beside the guy. I tell the story. I told the story a few times. It's like that was the biggest year of my career, but it was also the most I ever lied to everybody. Because everybody's like, "Man, you're so calm. You're so cool." I'm like, "Yeah, sure. No big deal." I'm so nervous inside. It's unbelievable, right? And because you got the intimidator on your heels every weekend, right? And but anyway, I was like, it just seemed like when we got in the race car or at the racetrack, it was, we just did our own thing. And then, when it come down towards, like I said, Darlington, I think he thought he had us at Darlington, which was a way for him to catch up in points. But, we had a pretty good lead, so he couldn't catch up. And then we ended up winning the race. And then, all the way to Homestead. And, I still tell the story, too, that even after the championship was over, we had a bunch of friends wanting to go to New York, so we had to charter an airplane, and we chartered his airplane, because, why not, right? And then so, he was always grateful for us, and, I've been to his farm, and, just competitive week in and week out, but taught me a lot, and, it was a fun year, being very competitive with him.
Throughout your career, about 25% of your career wins are at Atlanta. What about that track suited your driving style to a T?
I don't know. I ran a Daytona Dash car there like in 82 or 83. And I finished fourth in it. And I'm like, I don't know why. I have no reason why I finished that good in it. But I did. And so I'm like, hey, that kind of started that, I guess. And then when we get there, and even in the Busch Series, I guess, we back up to the Busch Series, we were always pretty good there in the Busch Series. But when the combination came with Jimmy and I and at Joe Gibbs Racing, that was, you got to have everything together, right? And I like the track, but I also like other tracks. But we just kind of went to Atlanta, and between the setups that were available then and what we knew and what went fast, and I enjoyed it. And, definitely I love going fast, and, holding it wide open there was like, what a thrill, right? So, I just, between a combination between our team and everything, and I liked it before, but you just, you run upon those times and places that you just, you hit upon something that your feel, the feel that you have, and the feel that they give you that makes a difference.
Your final Cup Series win came at Homestead in 2003. Obviously, you didn't know then what you would know now. But looking back, what did that win mean to you?
Yeah, obviously, we were, I think we were in a second behind Bill Elliott. He had a flat tire coming off of turn 2. And, we were good, but we weren't, we weren't going to beat him. And, I had made the comment, I think, just a few laps before, that he was just playing with us. And then, before I even got off the radio, I probably realized he was having a right rear tire go down. And, I ended up winning the race. And, what a great way to end the season with a win. And I think that was the last year of the Winston brand, and Matt won the championship. So, it was, obviously we wouldn't have thought that would be, that would have been that win, but hey, we were able to be at the right place at the right time, and sure. If we could have thought back now and what we know now, it's been different. But that was a great win for us and for Fatback and everybody, and good time.
Teammates with Tony Stewart, obviously at Joe Gibbs Racing. As a kid, I was a big Tony fan and enjoyed watching you two work together. Talk to us a little bit about that relationship with Tony Stewart that you have back then.
Yeah, obviously, when we were expanding to 2 cars, Coach was always, trying to find somebody to, to start that 2-car team or be part of it. And, we had a whiteboard and had names all over it and kept scratching some off and adding some, scratching some off. And Tony's was always at the top. And, Joe being the recruiter that he is, I mean, he would go and visit, with his dad and everybody else and, trying to get him to come, do the NASCAR thing. And so when it finally did happen and we finally were able to get him, and then he came down there and I think he ran my Busch car for a little bit and then went to the 20 car and Zippy. And I mean, it just, we obviously, kept putting him at the top of the list because we knew the talent was there and, just needed to make sure he wanted to do it, right? And so for me, we always had a great relationship. I mean, I feel like, I look back on it now and you're like, man, that was, what if he hadn't have done that? What would have happened? Or, and then I'll look back and I go, I am so glad he did that because that helped Joe get racing so much and helped me and, it helped grow the team to the next, to the next level, which led to the next level. And so for me and my relationship with Tony, I mean, it's like, we don't see each other but every now and then, but when we see each other, it's like we never lost a moment, and, I think that Tony, he's one of the most talented drivers behind the wheel, and, I was able to learn a lot from him as well.
Your closest, or one of the closest, Daytona 500s that you had for a chance to win was 2011 with JTD Doherty. How hard is it to win the Daytona 500 when it seriously feels like a crapshoot 90% of the time?
Yeah, that becomes difficult. I mean, you go out there and, I'd say, and when I started, and it wasn't as much of a crapshoot back in the day, but when I was driving for Tad that year, I mean, that was the year that, we were tandem drafting and all that stuff. And it got to the point where we just got hooked up at the end with Trevor. I missed a couple wrecks and, was able to get back up there and, was able to push Trevor. And, I thought for sure I'd already had damage because about wrecked so early in the day. So I couldn't get through the corner quite as well. And, yeah, I mean, it was frustrating because we were, you're trying as hard as you can. Then we got 2 guys mowing us down, and I made a move. I thought, well, if I'm going to win, I got to make this move, I think, but you don't know. And I mean, that's what's so hard is, most of those things now are determined if you stay out of the wreck and what the distance between turn 4 and the start finish line is now and where you're at. So driving it would be very stressful. It was very stressful for me towards the end of my career. When I first started off there in the Cup Series, it was, sure you had to have a fast race car, but it also had to handle too. So, a little bit less of a crapshoot. But yeah, it was nerve-wracking to say the least for me towards the end. And that year, I mean, it was so close to winning, but what are you going to do? I mean, you can't wreck the guy, and you're just trying to push to get ahead and either finish first or second, right, instead of finishing fourth.
So most recently, you're still racing NASCAR Euro Series, the Wheel and Modifieds, and most recently SRX as well. Talk to us a little bit about what it means to still be out there running week in and week out during the season when you do.
Yeah, I mean it's. I guess through a little bit of pre-COVID and COVID, it was kind of didn't do as much and wasn't thinking much about it and wasn't worried about it as much. Didn't have a bug, and then we did the NASCAR Europe for a little bit, which has been over for quite some time, but we were able to go to Europe to Goodwood. We were able to go to Europe to race the NASCAR Wheeling Series, but that's like I said, that's been several years ago. And then a buddy of mine said, "Hey, you want to go with me to Bowman Gray?" And I'm like, "Why would I want to do that?" And I was like, "All right, I'll go." So I went over there and run a little bit with him, and next thing you know, I had a call from a guy that wanted me to drive his car in Florence, and so the modified deal kind of came about, and we started racing that. And then about the same time, the SRX thing with Ray, and we had talked about that a couple years prior to that, where wouldn't that be a great idea? And I was like, yeah, sure, it would be a great idea. Yeah, okay, all right. So then we moved on, and for me, I think that racing now for me is more fun. And, I'm going to do it as the fun permits, as the time permits for the fun. And, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool to be able to go out there and compete and win races. And, that's what I've been able to do for the past few years. So, yeah, I mean, I know that the time will come sooner than later where I'm not going to do as much, but, right now I'm still having fun, and I still get to race in that.
So obviously nowadays, right now, you're doing the race hub on FS1, traveling the country a little bit. But what's going on these days? Winter months, a little colder. Anything you want to share with the listeners?
Yeah, I mean, I think that as far as getting past this time, fixing to get cranked up on FS1. First modified race for me will be at Richmond, and got that coming around here soon. And just got a lot of good things happening so far. And yeah, I mean, not much different than last year, maybe a little bit, but kind of getting cranked up. Even as I get older, I still get antsy in the wintertime to get moving towards a racetrack or talking about racing. And the TV thing is a good fix for me, because it's like it's like a drug, It's like racing's like a drug. It's like, if you want to talk about it, that's your happy place. And so right now we spent some time with some friends, and actually Bill and Gail Davis and some other friends over the wintertime, so got to see them. And yeah, so getting ready to go racing, but similar to last year, maybe a few changes here and there.
Website, if people want to see your schedule for 2024?
That's a great one. That's a great question. I think I know it. I think it should be BobbyLabonte.com. So if you want to go do that, I'm sure the old social media on the iPhone on the phone will probably tell you more. But BobbyLabonte.com should be pretty current. Social media will be, like I said, will be probably as current as it will get when time comes.
Absolutely. And last question for you. We like to always ask, when it's all said and done, how do you, Bobby Labonte, want to be remembered to the racing fans?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, for me, I think that, I don't know. I mean, I believe that it's just kind of I guess I hope I treat everybody fairly and try to do all the right things, and, just, have, people understand how important, their lives meant to me, and how much I appreciate that. But at the same time, I feel like I want them to know that I gave my all to everything, and enjoyed and loved it.
Bobby Labonte, 2000 Cup Series champion, class of NASCAR Hall of Fame class of 2020, and also one of NASCAR's 75 greatest drivers, joining us here tonight on Miles on Motorsport.